Defense witnesses in the insanity trial of Jeffrey Dahmer testify today he had a troubled childhood, even planned to build a temple from the bones of his victims. Good evening, I'm Rick Rosenthal.
And I'm Allison Payne. A second psychologist testified today that serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer suffers from a mental disease, and it began to show up when he was a child. Dr. Judith Becker of the University of Arizona related details of Dahmer's bizarre behavior when he was young. Rosenthal reports from Milwaukee.
Jeffrey Dahmer talked about moving to a nice suburb in Ohio when he was 8 years old. He told this psychologist he used to fish with his father and remembers the first time he learned how to clean a fish.
Jeffrey, for the most part, in relating material, was pretty monotone and pretty flat. When he talked about cutting the fish open and seeing the inside of the fish, he became somewhat more animated, somewhat more alive.
It wasn't long after, about the age of 14, that Dahmer developed the bizarre habit of collecting dead animals, which he would deflesh. Defense attorney Gerald Boyle asked Becker how she would have reacted if she'd known Dahmer at the time.
I would be just very concerned about this. I would want to have him hospitalized, and I would want to have a very thorough assessment done of him, because of the cutting up of animals and the fascination with the viscera of the animals and the fact that he wanted to take the bones and reconstruct the animal.
Dahmer says he was not only fascinated but excited, a feeling he would later achieve by having sex with dead bodies, sometimes after they've been sliced open.
I'm of the opinion that in relation to those 15 homicides that he lacked substantial capacity to conform his behavior.
The district attorney says the two experts who have now testified for the defense simply aren't experienced enough to make that call.
He was caught with damning evidence on his person and in his apartment, and must search then for a defense. And this is the defense. They've reached to the East Coast and they've reached to the Southwest, and they found two people who never testified before in a first-degree murder case to testify in this case on the issue of responsibility.
Boyle insists Dahmer couldn't control himself and that his life was consumed by his grotesque sexual cravings. He even daydreamed about building a shrine to his victims and drew this diagram for Dr. Becker. He planned to put his victims' skulls on a special table, hang blue lights, and burn incense. He said it would be a place of worship. Today's testimony provided glimpses into a relatively trouble-free childhood, but experts say that Dahmer is reluctant to say much about his parents. He seems to be worried that they'll be blamed for his actions when, as he puts it, the fault is all his. Meantime, Dahmer tells Becker he can't even believe he's taken the lives of so many people, and at times wishes he, too, could die. In Milwaukee, I'm Rosenthal, WGN News.
And prosecutors are expected to cross-examine Dr. Becker tomorrow.
In Indianapolis, prosecutors rested their case in the Mike Tyson rape trial. They wrapped up their side of the testimony and evidence after calling 20 witnesses, including today the accuser's mother. Charles Zewe brings us up to date on the trial, which today also included parts of a dramatic phone call Tyson's accuser made to the police 911 emergency operator.
Do you have a problem? Yes, I'm calling to report a rape.
Jurors heard a controversial 13-minute 911 tape in which the alleged victim recounted how she was supposedly assaulted in Tyson's hotel suite.
I came out of the bathroom and this person was in his underwear, and he just basically kind of, he did what he wanted to do, and he kept saying, don't fight me, don't fight me, and I was like saying, no, get off me, please, get off me, and he was like, don't fight me, and the person was a lot stronger than I was, and he just did what he wanted, and I was saying, stop, please, stop, and we just didn't stop.
Jurors did not hear, however, the police operator urging the accuser to press charges, saying, if he has done it to you, there's a strong possibility you are not the first one he has done it to, and you probably won't be the last.
I think this is where the judge says to herself, the tape, let's play it for them and let them make up their own mind. Was she talked into this? Was she not? What did she say about it? What did she didn't? And so on and so forth. So I think here she feels like the best evidence of this, with a couple deletions, probably will be the tape itself. Therefore, she allowed it in.
Earlier, defense attorneys lost a bid to call 3 surprise witnesses to the stand. 3 women who claimed to have seen the former heavyweight champ and his accuser kissing and all over each other shortly before the alleged attack. But Special Prosecutor Greg Garrison said allowing that testimony would be prejudicial and highly suspect since the trio failed to come forward earlier and were friends of Tyson buddies. Judge Patricia Gifford agreed. The most tearful witness to appear so far was the woman's mother, who said her daughter looked terrible the day after her encounter with Tyson and still has nightmares about the incident. She added, "She is not the same daughter I sent down here. I just want my daughter back." As the prosecution wrapped up its case, the judge threw out the single confinement charge against Tyson, meaning that now, instead of facing 63 years in jail if he's convicted, he faces 60. In Indianapolis, Charles Zewey for WGN News.
The defense begins its presentation tomorrow. The question now is, will Mike Tyson take the stand? His lawyers have indicated yes, he may. They've not said categorically whether, in fact, he will. We'll find out more tomorrow. Now,
Chicago's first black police superintendent has been found not guilty on charges of reverse discrimination. A dozen white officers sought up to $500,000 each in damages, accusing former Superintendent Fred Rice of demoting them to promote blacks. The verdict brings an 8-year-old case to an end, as Muriel Clare reports.
Former Police Superintendent Fred Rice was exonerated, and it took a jury of 3 blacks and 3 whites only 5 hours to decide that he did not discriminate against the plaintiffs in the case.
I had no doubt it would go this way because my conscience was clear.
John Gubbins, the attorney for the 12 white officers who sued Rice, had not been so certain.
We're extremely disappointed. This case has been going on for 8 years. We've thought about it a lot. We think we're right. Jury didn't see it our way. I'm sorry they didn't, but that's the way it is.
The 12 white police officers who were not in court for the verdict sued Rice in 1984 after he demoted 29 people, 27 of them white, from the exempt ranks, so-called because the top officers are exempt from civil service protection. Rice, the city's first black superintendent, maintained throughout the trial that discrimination was not a factor in the demotions. Cleaning up the police department was.
I tried to choose the best possible people I could choose to run this police department when I was superintendent.
Rice's lead attorney says the impact of the jury's decision will be far-reaching.
I think it is a wonderful thing that our system of justice has worked and that a man of Fred Rice's caliber has been vindicated today. And I also think that it's an important decision because it underscores how important it is for any public official to be able to pick his own team. A public official can't make good on his promises to the public unless he can pick the people he wants to help him do it, and that's what's important.
The city was originally a defendant in the case, but Judge Holderman early on dismissed the city, saying it was not a proper party to the lawsuit. Muriel Clare, WGN News, Dirksen Federal Building.
And the U.S. Court of Appeals is still expected to decide whether the city can also be sued in this case, ruling on whether Judge Holderman rightly dismissed the city as a defendant.
We have lost an old friend here. Veteran WGN TV performer Ned Locke died early this evening at his home in Kimberling City, Missouri. He'd suffered from liver cancer. He was 72. Ned Locke was born in Minneapolis on Christmas Day in 1919. He started acting in his childhood years and later took up broadcasting at station WHO in Des Moines. He came to Chicago first with NBC and later with WGN Channel 9, where he would remain until his retirement in 1976.
Master Ned, that's me, and a cast of thousands.
He was best known as Mr. Ned, the jovial ringmaster of the Bozo Show. But that was not Ned Locke's first assignment at WGN TV. He came to Channel 9 in 1956 as Uncle Ned, joining Ted, Uncle Bucky Ziegler, and Dardanelle Aunt Dodie Hadley as hosts of Lunchtime Little Theater. It was a successful 4-year run that ended in 1960, when Locke took over as skipper of Paddleboat, another kid show on Channel 9. Cartoons were one big part of that show, but live animals were also frequent guests, and sometimes with disastrous results.
For instance, one time we had a 1,400-pound baby hippopotamus on the show, and the baby hippopotamus all but sunk the ship. It worked out very well, but you know, people were looking for ladders, and hey, how do I get up out of here? I don't want to be near the near this raging hippopotamus. Yes, Big Top is on the air.
In 1961, Bozo the Clown came to Channel 9 to star on Bozo's Circus and the primetime Big Top Show. With Bob Bell as Bozo, Ray Rayner as Oliver O. Oliver, and Don Sandberg as Sandy the Tramp, Ned Locke was the natural choice to be the ringmaster of the show. His, a mature voice of reason, trying to bring a measure of sanity to the antics of the clowns, and not having all that much success.
The format was loose, scripts were loose, and it was a real hack. But after a while, it worked out.
It worked out so well, in fact, that Ned Locke stayed with the Bozo Show for 16 seasons until his retirement in 1976.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the guy that started the grand prize game. Would you all please join me in welcoming Ringmaster Ned? Yay!
In September of 1991, Ned Locke returned to make a guest appearance on the 30th anniversary of the Bozo Show on Channel 9 and showed he'd lost none of his old form.
And now it's time to play our grand prize game.
A few years earlier, Mr. Ned had joined Bob Bozo Bell on the left and Don Sandy the Tramp Sandberg in the middle to look back on their years with the show, a show that Ned Locke was proud had never been phony.
We didn't attempt to really and truly educate, but instead entertain. Figured kids need a break in their day like everybody else, you know, and give them a break. And it was an honest effort. There wasn't any cover-up. There just wasn't any phoniness. And I think that will endure.
That will endure, and so will the memories of the warmth, professionalism, and gentle good humor of Mr. Ned Locke.